picture, the back looks like this. There are 5 special cards, 12 cards of each color for the locations, in black, yellow, red, and blue. 6 epidemic cards. We have 48 infection cards. This is the back face of it. We have 12 in each color that correspond with the user cards. Okay, there's 5 roll cards. They're pawns. Note with this version, the medic and the researchers are more orange and tan, so I tend to use red for the medic and black for the researcher. Okay, there are 96 disease cubes, 24 of each color. And again, the colors don't really match up with the red. It's more of an orange on the cards and on the board. We have 6 research centers. 1 will automatically be placed on Atlanta. The other 5 can be used throughout the game. An instruction manual and 4 player cards. There are special actions on one side and basic actions on the reverse. And the game board. The researcher may give a player card to another player for 1 action point per card. Both of their pawns must be in the same city. Medic removes all cubes of a single color when they treat a city for 1 action point. After the cure is found for the disease color, they can do this for free. The scientist only needs 4 cards instead of 5 to cure disease. Dispatcher can move fellow player's pawns on his turn as though he were moving himself. He can also move any player's pawn to another city containing another player's pawn for 1 action. The operations expert may build a research station in the city he is currently in for 1 action point instead of discarding the card. The player cards show you the name of the city, the color of the disease, and the location of the city. It also has some flavor text here, such as the country the city's in, the population, and the area. The infection rate cards give you the name of the city, the location of the city, the color of the disease, and also a little flavor text of the country the city is located in. The special event cards can be played at any time and do not require an action. The special event card forecast means you can draw the top 6 cards from the infection draw pile, rearrange them in any order you want, and then place them back on top of the infection draw pile. The government grant card allows you to add a research station to any city for free. Again, it can be played at any time and does not require an action. When you play the One Quiet Night card, you are allowed to skip the infector phase on a player's next turn. The Airlift card lets you move a pawn of your own or another player's to any city you choose. You must have the permission of the player though. And Resilient Population allows you to draw a card from the infection discard pile and remove it from the game. All we have are cities on the 6 continents. Each city connects by land or by sea to another city. Here we have our disease track, outbreak track over here. Goes from 1 to 8. At 8, lose the game. We have our player card spot. Place your player cards here, and then the discard pile here. Next to that, we have a handy little order of play slot here. It'll tell you the 3 steps of the game. Up top, we have our infection rate track, and above that we have the infection card, the discard pile spot. Okay, in the beginning of the game, each player will draw one roll card. So I'll be the medic. Jen will be the researcher and take their corresponding pawns. So I'll be red and Jen will be black. Okay, to start we'll take the 48 different colored player cards and the 5 special event cards and shuffle them into a deck. From there, each player will receive 4 cards in a 2-player game, 3 cards in a 3-player game, and 2 cards in a 4-player game. We will then play them face up. It's a cooperative game, so everybody can see each player's cards. We will then take the remaining cards and split them into 4 smaller decks, and we will place 4 of the epidemic cards on top of each deck. Now, this is for the base difficulty. If you want to play harder, you would add a 5th pile and then a 5th epidemic card, or the hardest, you would add a 6th pile and then the 6th epidemic card. So then we will shuffle each shorter deck. Once that is done, we will combine the 4 decks together and make them into one big deck, and then shuffle one more time. After combining the decks and shuffling, we'll place them here in the player card pile. Right next to it is the player card disc pile. Next, we will take our infection rate cards and place them up top. From there, we will pull 9 cards total. The first 3 we will flip over and we will place 3 of that color disease on the board. So, next 3 we will flip over and we will put 2 of the corresponding color infection cubes on the board, like so. And then finally, the last 3 will have 1 cube per city. So when you're done, there should be 18 disease cubes out on the board. Next, we will take one of our research centers and place it at Atlanta, and then place our pawns at Atlanta. We will then take our 4 disease markers and place them face up above the corresponding disease. We will take our outbreak token and place it at 0, and our infection rate token, place it on 2. And we are now ready to play the game. Basic actions, which I call movement actions, there are 4 different ones you can do. You can drive or ferry, meaning for 1 action point you could go from here to here. You're driving from one location to another, and then that would be 1 action point. Or say you did here to here, would be 2 action points. You can also ferry, meaning you could go across the water wherever a red line connects to another city. Next, you have direct flight. If I had a card for Bogota here, I could discard this card and take my pawn and go to Bogota. Next, we have charter a flight, which means I could discard a card in my hand if I am in that city and move anywhere on the board that I choose. And finally, for the basic actions, we have shuttle flight, which means I can move from one research center to another research center as 1 action point. Now, for special actions, I can build a research center for 1 action point. I can cure disease. As long as I'm in a city with a research center, I can take 5 cards of the same color disease, discard them, and then I would then cure that disease. I can treat a disease. And then once we cure the disease, we slide it down over the disease. And then once we sunset the disease, we flip the marker over, meaning once the disease color is cured, and then you remove all of the disease cubes of that color from the board, the disease is treated. And anytime you draw a new infection card of that color, you do not have to place a cube on that city. You could also share knowledge, which means as long as two players are in the same city, they can trade a card of that city. Say I am in Atlanta and Jen has the Atlanta card. On her turn, she can move into Atlanta, trade the Atlanta card with me, and I can put it in my hand. Up to a hand of 7. If I have more than 7 cards, I must immediately discard back down to 7. The order of play is we do our 4 actions first, then we draw our player card, and then we draw infection rates. So we can move and then treat a disease, or we can build a research center, or we can cure a disease as long as we're at a city with a research center. And then we would draw 2 cards up to 7, then we had to discard. And then we draw our infection rate cards and place 1 token of that color in this city. I'm just using yellow here as an example. The object of the game is to cure diseases, then twilight them, and then finally clearing the board of the diseases. The game can be lost if the outbreak track here reaches 8, all your player cards have been used, or if all the cubes of one color are used up.